for joining. Yeah. I'm going to talk about the evolution of an application, my recent experience. But before that, let me just talk about myself. I'm Priyanka. I'm based in Melbourne. Um, Currently, I'm working with Bourne Digital, and I have 10 years of SAP experience. Um, and it's purely technical that I've worked on. And um, yeah, even my husband, he is in SAP. I've got twins, so I'm a twin mom. And yeah, I'm a workaholic, but I call myself. Um, yeah, that's a short intro about myself. Now let's jump to the presentation. Let me first share my screen. So basically, we have been working with this client, and uh, basically, what I'm going to talk through is the journey of how we evolved with the performance of the application. So basically, I'll just first initially start about what was the challenge. So the challenge was, first of all, the performance, basically what we could directly see and observe. Then why we got that issue is because we did not test initially with the realistic data. And we had to also incorporate the approval process that is involved. We also had to deal with the inconsistent ECC behavior. I'll talk about it later in the slides. And somehow we had to come to a point where we had to solve the jigsaw puzzle of architecture, so which one suits us basically. So let's start with the initial architecture that we started with. So initially we had started with the workflow because of the approval process involved. There were the personas had to approve the process at each stage, and then it goes to the next person. So that was the requirement. So what we came up with was the workflow. So we had data in the backend ECC. So we connected to the OData service, to the cloud connector and the secure network. As you all know, how we connect to the cloud platform. And of course, we are working with the Neo. So we have the Fiori Launchpad that was in the on the SAP Cloud platform. And the workflow is in the cloud platform. Then all the data that we are trying to stage is in the workflow. So once the request is raised, and then it is saved or approved or confirmed at the first stage, then it goes to the next person, but then it stays in the workflow. But this wasn't going to work. This was a very early fail that we come across. But to understand why, let's take a step back and understand how the workflow works. So basically, workflow is nothing but a letter in an envelope where you don't see what's in the letter. So to understand what's in the letter, you have to open the envelope and understand what is the data inside it. So it's okay to work with one and a few, but what happens when you have got a lot? So just to find the article with silk as a description in it, so you had to open everything and just find those couple of silk materials to know that basically that's the two letters that we are looking for. But then you have to look through all the workflows pool and just grab what you want. And the next one was, you can create duplicate instances with the workflow with the same key and everything. So it does not really check whether you're creating any duplicate records or not. The next one was like, so that's where we come up with the new architecture. So we but how we went through it. So basically, we came together as a team. We identified what was the issue. So the workflow was the issue for us this time. Then we did a brainstorming. What can work with instead of workflow? So we came up with a theory, and then we implemented this. So we came up with a new architecture. Now the new architecture included was or the replaced workflow with HANA DB. So instead of using workflow, we replaced it into the schema and the tables of how we wanted to stage the data. But still, the data was coming from the backend OData service and the cloud connector and so on. And it's merging in the front end in the application. And we have data coming from the backend, and then we have the stage data. So based on the staged values, you replace those records from the stage data and show it in the front end. But what started happening is we came up with we started to get more and more data, and then that's where what happened is you had like 100 or more suppliers, and these many buyers, and these many articles. So the combination was up to 1 billion. So that was not going to work for us. So and also because I was talking about the ECC, we had this standard component called IWBEP, which itself was taking like 2 minutes for us to just process the data. And so it wasn't the class that was fetching the data, but it was the standard component that was processing the data into the deep structure of the data that was flown to the front end. So the next one was so we did the same drill. We came up with a new theory, and now this theory was still having the data coming from the backend, but it was a quick fix. We wanted to see whether this could work. So we tried to manually, first of all, we put that data into the database tables, and once we got that table, we uploaded those tables manually through spreadsheet into the HANA with the HANA Studio. And we had this SLT table, and then we had this normal table, but not SLT, not the replicated data tables, and then this staging tables. And then because it was a quick fix and we haven't gone through that process of doing that appropriately, so we still had to do the front end merge. Now the app was in a better place, but still it wasn't what we wanted. It was still taking a minute. It wasn't acceptable from the user, because you don't want to see those bubbles popping for a minute to just get that data. So again, we went through the drill. We came up with a new theory as a team. Then we thought of this new architecture where you're doing the SLT into the HANA database. Now, at this point, what we are doing is we are not manually updating the tables in the HANA. So what we are doing is instead, we are replicating these tables through an SLT. And now, instead of merging it in the front end, we are merging it at the server level. We have done the complex business logic inside the views and the tables to process this data in the server, and then showing it through the OData service, Access OData services, and views and tables from them. And that's how we reduce this from a minute to a second of 5 seconds at a very good internet speed. It doesn't even take a minute, a second to load. It's even less than that. But this is an average based on the speed of the internet that we have tested. Now, what were the learnings? So what did we learn? So we had to understand the pros and cons of the product. For example, like in case of workflow, we realized it's not going to work. Even so, while choosing the product, we had to understand the limitations. The second thing was data sizing, where we have to, at times we work with the small data in the dev or test, but when you go to production, it's a different story. So we have to understand the data sizing and really work or test thoroughly with that data sizing, those many users at a time. Then what was the next learning? It was something. I mean, we cannot just change the code to make it faster. That that could. I mean, that at times is the answer, but not always. Not in our case, it was the answer. So we had to look out of the box. So we had to change the architecture to get this puzzle solved and get to this really quicker working application. And also look outside the app. Just like, for example, we also implemented Fury 3 so that it does not load all the libraries. It just loads the library that is required, and it's quicker and fast than the old version of the Fury. And that's all about my presentation. Thank you. Stay safe, stay home, and of course, exercise and spend time with your family. Any questions?
Yeah. Hi, Priyanka. How are you?
Hi, Sagar. How are you?
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
So, did you guys try to consider the ABAP CDS views and publishing them as OData services?
Actually, we did not try that because even the OData service itself wasn't. It was not the query that pulled the data, because the query in the backend used to take like less than 15 seconds, but then processing it was the major component, which was IW web. So even if you create the OData service with that CDS view, still going to dive at that IW web standard component.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, it looks like there's no questions, Priyanka, so that's very good. Thank you for covering that. Very interesting to see the life cycle of moving through those different architectures and the learning lessons from that. Really interesting. And good to know, what things work and don't work and so forth. So that was very good. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Phil. And of course, Phil was part of that team.
Yes, I was.
So he enjoyed the journey as how I have.
Yes, that's true. So I think that brings us to a close. We're probably early, so we made up some time during the 3 sessions. So that's good. We can let everyone get on with their day and have dinner if you want to.